There's an old saying on my home world: never judge a carbon-based life form by its nuclear capabilities. We should have remembered that before the diplomatic incident of 2157 my name is ZYX 427. Though my human friends call me Zach because their underdeveloped vocal cords struggle with the proper resonance of my actual name. I serve as the Senior Cultural Analyst for the Galactic Confederation's Department of Emerging Species Management. My job? Evaluating primitive species for potential membership in our vast, mostly peaceful interstellar community. Humans were never supposed to be my assignment. The standard protocol dictates at least another 3 centuries of observation before first contact. But protocols change when a species accidentally intercepts your supposedly encrypted communications. Let me tell you the real story of how humans forced their way into galactic society, and how a ragtag group of Earthlings saved not just their own species, but quite possibly the entire Confederation. The mistake that changed everything. Ambassador ZYX, please report to the High Council chambers immediately. The voice of my assistant, Blurple, echoed through my cranial implant, interrupting a rather pleasant dream about quantum surfing. What time is it? I groaned, my 7 eye stalks slowly extending from their sleep pouches. It's mid-rotation, and the council used the emergency override. They seem agitated. I'd been an ambassador for 97 cycles. Agitated, council members were never good news. The central council chamber was imposing by design. A massive spherical room where the 12 eldest members of the Confederation floated in anti-gravity suspension. Their wizened faces and multiple appendages twitched with unusual anxiety as I entered. Grand Counselor Vrex, 9, the oldest living Quilxian in the known galaxy, spoke first. Ambassador, we have a situation with Solar System XJ 2457. The primitive bipeds have, she paused dramatically, her breathing sacs inflating with stress, intercepted our surveillance transmissions. I blinked all 14 of my eyelids sequentially, a sign of extreme surprise in my species. Impossible. The encryption algorithms are beyond their technological capacity by at least 500 years. Apparently not, said Counselor Druum, his metallic exoskeleton vibrating with irritation. He gestured to the central hologram where a message appeared, unmistakably in crude human English. T.O. whoever is listening. We hear you. We know you are out there. Let's talk. Sincere humans. How? I asked, my pigmentation shifting to a concerned mauve. They got lucky, explained Science Minister Oop. They weren't trying to hack our communications. They were testing a new type of quantum computer and accidentally created a resonance field that decoded a small portion of our standard surveillance package. Just enough to confirm they are not alone. The room fell silent. So what do we do? I finally asked. Grand Counselor Vrex, 9 sighed, a sound like wind through ancient crystal. The regulations are clear. Once a species discovers the Confederation, we must initiate contact. Prepare your team, Ambassador. You leave for Earth in 1 rotation, but they are nowhere near ready. I protested. Their political systems are chaotic, their planet is overheating, and they still think cat videos are the pinnacle of entertainment. Nevertheless, Vrex, 9 continued, we must follow protocol. But I remind you, this is strictly observation and preliminary assessment. Under no circumstances are humans to be considered for membership. They are simply too young. With all due respect, I countered, the regulations state that any species advanced enough to detect us must be given fair consideration for. The regulations also give the Council discretionary authority, interrupted Counselor Druum. We have reviewed their broadcasts. These creatures spent the last century developing thousands of ways to destroy themselves and their habitat. Just last solar cycle, their dominant entertainment was watching people eat laundry cleaning products. They are not ready. I couldn't argue with that logic. Your mission is to politely acknowledge their discovery, explain that they need more time to develop, and leave them to their own devices for another few centuries, Vrex, 9 concluded. Is that clear, Ambassador? It was clear. It was reasonable. It was protocol that IT was also completely wrong, as I would soon discover. Our diplomatic vessel, the Celestial Formality, entered Earth's atmosphere on what humans called Tuesday. I have never understood why they name time segments. Time is time. Naming the days feels like naming individual oxygen molecules. That MY team consisted of 5 specialists. Myself, Blurple, my administrative assistant whose species resembles what humans might call a sentient cotton candy. Dr. Gloop, our xenobiologist who exists as a collection of intelligent plasma contained in a floating sphere. Security Officer Krill, a warrior from a militant Vraxian empire whose exoskeleton can withstand nuclear blasts. And Communications Specialist Whistle, whose species communicates through musical tones and who had painfully learned human languages by watching their reality television broadcasts. Poor Whistle had developed an unfortunate tendency to say literally and amazing with unnecessary frequency that we landed at the coordinates specified in the human reply, a remote desert location they called Nevada. A small welcoming committee awaited us. 3 military vehicles, 2 black diplomatic sedans, and 15 humans in various uniforms looking simultaneously terrified and awestruck. Remember, I instructed my team as our ship's ramp descended. We are here to let them down gently. Be polite, be respectful, but be firm. They are not ready for Confederation membership. As we emerged from our ship, the humans' reactions varied from open-mouthed shock to one individual who appeared to be recording us on a primitive communication device they called a smartphone. A human female stepped forward, her posture rigidly formal despite her obvious nervousness. On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you. I am Dr. Jessica Palmer, Director of the International Space Cooperation Initiative. I extended 3 of my 7 upper appendages in greeting. I am Ambassador SCI-FI 427 of the Galactic Confederation. We received your transmission and have come to formally acknowledge your discovery of our existence. Dr. Palmer smiled, revealing the bizarre white calcium deposits humans use for food processing. This is a historic moment for humanity. We have so many questions. I understand. I replied diplomatically, but I must inform you that official Confederation protocol classifies Earth as a development stage 3 planet. While we recognize your achievement in detecting our communications, your species requires approximately 300 more years of social and technological advancement before formal relations can be established. The human's face performed a fascinating transformation from excitement to confusion to something they call disappointment. You are saying we are not advanced enough? Asked another human, a male with facial hair around his mouth, but nowhere else, which seemed evolutionarily questionable. It's not personal, I assured them. Your species is simply too young. Your global political structures are fragmented, your technology is rudimentary, and your philosophical frameworks are, well, let's just say the council was particularly concerned about something called TikTok challenges. Literally, so judgmental. Whistle commented unhelpfully to Dr. Palmer's expression hardened. With all due respect, Ambassador, we may be younger than your civilization, but we have achieved remarkable progress in short time. We have gone from horse-drawn carriages to quantum computing in less than 2 centuries. And from quantum computing to eating laundry detergent for entertainment, I countered. The Confederation has observed your species for millennia. Your potential is tremendous, but your maturity is lacking. A different human, wearing a military uniform adorned with small metallic symbols, stepped forward. I'm General Thomas Blackwood, United States Space Force. Ambassador, we didn't just stumble upon your transmission by accident. This was unexpected. Explain, I demanded. General Blackwood gestured to a younger human who stepped forward carrying a device. This is Dr. Alex Novak, quantum physicist. He has something you need to see. Dr. Novak, who appeared to be what humans call nervous as hell, activated his device. A holographic display appeared, primitive by our standards, but impressive for Earth technology. It showed what appeared to be a star map with a pulsing red area. 3 months ago, we detected an anomaly in the quantum field surrounding this sector, Dr. Novak explained. At first, we thought it was a natural phenomenon, but the pattern was too regular. When we managed to partially decode it, we realized it wasn't your regular surveillance. It was a warning. My pigmentation involuntarily shifted to alarmed orange. What kind of warning? Dr. Palmer interjected. We believe someone, or something, is planning an attack on this sector of the galaxy, including Earth. I exchanged glances with my team. This was not in our mission briefing. How could you possibly know that? Dr. Gloop asked, his plasma form swirling with suspicion. Doctor. Novak tapped his device again. The hologram changed to show a series of mathematical equations and what appeared to be a countdown sequence. Because we have translated enough to recognize a military deployment schedule, General Blackwood stated flatly. And according to our calculations, whatever's coming arrives in less than 30 Earth days. The desert wind suddenly felt cold against my exoskeleton. We may be young, Dr. Palmer said quietly, but we are facing the same threat as you, and we are asking for your help. This was definitely not how I expected the conversation to go. Absolutely not. Grand Counselor Vrex 9's holographic projection vibrated with anger. This is preposterous. Humans are manipulating you, Ambassador. I was back aboard the Celestial Formality, reporting to the Council about the humans' claims. It wasn't going well. With respect, Counselor, I have had our systems analyze their data, I replied. The quantum anomaly they detected is real, and their interpretation, while primitive, follows a logical pattern consistent with a military encryption. Science Minister Oop's tentacles waved dismissively. Even if the anomaly exists, there's no reason to believe it's hostile. The Confederation has maintained peace for 50,000 cycles. We have no enemies. No known enemies, corrected Security Officer Krill, who had insisted on joining the transmission. The galaxy is vast. We have only explored approximately 17% of it. This is precisely why humans aren't ready for membership, Counselor Druum interrupted. They have been aware of extraterrestrial life for less than a solar cycle, and they're already imagining galactic wars. Their entertainment broadcasts are full of such fantasies. Dr. Palmer had been granted permission to join our transmission. I admired her composure as she addressed the council. Counselors, we understand your skepticism, but consider this. Precisely because we are not part of your confederation, we notice something your systems might filter out as background noise. Our quantum computers work differently than yours. They had to, because we developed them independently. The council members exchanged troubled glances. Ambassador, Vrex, 9 finally said, return to the Confederation immediately. Bring these humans' data for proper analysis. If, and I stress if, there is any validity to their concerns, we will handle it appropriately. And if we are right, Dr. Palmer asked, Earth has no defenses against an advanced alien threat. Will you protect us? The silence that followed was answer enough. After the transmission ended, I turned to Dr. Palmer. I apologize for the council's response. They are set in their ways. They don't believe us, she stated flatly. They believe the data requires further analysis. I offered diplomatically. General Blackwood, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. They're not going to help us, are they? Before I could formulate a suitably vague response, alarms blared throughout our ship. Blurple rushed into the communication chamber, their cottony form vibrating with distress. Ambassador, we are receiving an emergency broadcast from Outpost Station GX-12. They are under attack. The holographic display activated automatically, showing chaos. GX-12 was one of our most remote monitoring stations, staffed by just 20 Confederation scientists. The transmission showed creatures I had never seen before, tall, insectoid beings with advanced weaponry, moving methodically through the station as alarms wailed. This is Senior Researcher Kix 7, gasped a wounded Plorvian scientist. Unknown hostiles have breached all security. They are accessing our central database. They are downloading the Confederation defense grid coordinates. The transmission cut to static. The room fell silent. GX-12 was only 3 light years from Earth. General Blackwood broke the silence. I believe this changes the situation, Ambassador. Indeed it did. The Council has declared Emergency Protocol 7. I informed the assembled humans and my team. All non-essential Confederation operations are suspended. All member worlds are implementing defensive measures. We had gathered in what humans called a conference room at their secret facility. After witnessing the attack on GX-12, I had made an executive decision to cooperate with the humans, a decision the Council reluctantly approved once they confirmed the threat was real. What about Earth? Dr. Palmer asked. We are not a member world. I hesitated. The Council has authorized minimal defensive support. 1 squadron of interceptors will be dispatched to 1 squadron. General Blackwood interrupted incredulously. Against what we just saw here, through your outpost. It's all that can be spared, I explained. The Confederation hasn't faced a military threat in thousands of cycles. Our defensive resources are limited. Limited, Dr. Novak repeated. But you are an advanced galactic civilization. Dr. Gloop's containment sphere pulsed with embarrassment. Our civilization turned away from military development millennia ago. We maintained a small defensive force, mainly for show. We never expected to use it. So the most advanced civilization in the galaxy can't defend itself, General Blackwood summarized flatly. Perfect. The Council is implementing the Shroud Protocol, I continued. Confederation worlds will be hidden behind quantum camouflage fields. Unfortunately, Earth lacks the necessary technology for inclusion. The humans exchanged grim looks. So we are on our own, Dr. Palmer concluded. Not entirely, I said. I have been authorized to provide technical assistance and information. But physical resources are restricted. Translation: they're saving their own skins, muttered a human scientist that I couldn't entirely disagree. Then we need to work with what we have, Dr. Palmer said decisively. Dr. Novak, assemble your quantum team. General, mobilize whatever space-capable forces we have. Ambassador ZYX, we need everything you can tell us about these hostiles and any defensive technology you can share. What followed was the most remarkable display of adaptability I have ever witnessed. Humans, as it turns out, excel under pressure. While my species carefully deliberates and the Council debates protocols, humans simply act. Within 3 Earth days, Dr. Novak's team had reverse-engineered elements of our communication technology to create a rudimentary early warning system. General Blackwood had coordinated Earth's fragmented military forces into a unified defense strategy. And Dr. Palmer had somehow convinced Earth's quarrelsome nations to temporarily set aside their differences. It won't be enough, Security Officer Krill observed as we watched humans frantically preparing. Their technology is too primitive. Their weapons are practically ceremonial compared to what we witnessed at GX-12. Perhaps, I acknowledged, but they have something the Confederation lost long ago. What's that? I gestured to where Dr. Palmer was simultaneously coordinating with multiple global leaders, her face determined despite not having slept in 50 hours. Survival instinct. The early warning system activated precisely 27 Earth days after our arrival. The hostile fleet, now identified as the Vex Dominion, an expansionist empire from the unexplored Andromeda Galaxy, had entered our solar system. The Council's promised squadron of interceptors never arrived. We later learned they had been diverted to protect a Confederation resource depot. Earth truly was on its own, except for us. My team and I had made a decision that violated every Confederation protocol. We would stand with the humans, the battle for Earth. They are approaching Mars orbit, Dr. Novak announced, his eyes fixed on the quantum detection grid. The facility's command center was filled with Earth's military and scientific leaders, all watching as 27 Vex Dominion warships advanced toward their planet. All planetary defense systems online, reported General Blackwood. Such as they are, Earth's defenses consisted of hastily modified satellites, a handful of nuclear missiles repurposed with guidance systems based on Confederation technology, and 3 experimental spacecraft armed with prototype weapons. Against a fleet that had easily overwhelmed a Confederation outpost, it was like facing a supernova with a water pistol. Ambassador, Dr. Palmer said quietly, pulling me aside, if this goes badly, is there any possibility of evacuating at least some of our people? The question caught me off guard. In all our preparations, no human had asked about escape. The celestial formality could transport perhaps 200 individuals, I replied. But that's enough for our best scientists and a genetic diversity sample, she nodded. If Earth falls, at least something of humanity might survive. I stared at her. You have been planning for this possibility all along. Of course, she replied simply. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Survival 101. Before I could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. They are accelerating, Dr. Novak shouted. Bypassing Mars completely. The main screen showed the Vex fleet suddenly increasing speed, their massive ships cutting through space toward Earth. All defense systems prepare to engage, ordered General Blackwood. But then something unexpected happened. The lead Vex vessel abruptly changed course, away from Earth. They are turning, Dr. Novak said incredulously on the screen. We watched as the entire Vex fleet altered trajectory, accelerating toward a different target. They are heading for Neptune, a technician announced. Neptune, where the Confederation maintained its largest cloaked observation post in the solar system. An observation post that, according to all our data, should have been undetectable. They knew it was there all along, I realized aloud. Earth wasn't their primary target. The Confederation post has been compromised, Officer Krill stated flatly. The Vex now have access to the locations of all Confederation worlds, including those hidden by the Shroud Protocol. The implications were staggering. The Vex had manipulated us all, letting us detect their approach, watching our panic preparations, while their true objective was the Confederation all along. We need to warn the Council, I said. Communications are being jammed, Whistle reported, the musical notes of their speech strained with effort. The Vex are blocking all quantum frequencies. Can we use conventional radio? Dr. Palmer asked. Too slow, I replied. By the time the message reached the nearest Confederation relay, it would be too late. General Blackwood studied the tactical display. So the Vex tricked the Confederation into hiding, then found a way to locate them anyway. Now they're going after your people, and no one knows it's coming. Correct, I admitted. The general exchanged glances with Dr. Palmer. Then there's only one option. We need to stop them here. With what? Officer Krill demanded. Your primitive weapons are useless against their shields. Dr. Novak cleared his throat. Actually, maybe not. All eyes turned to the young physicist. The quantum detection grid we built works differently than Confederation technology, he explained. We noticed something when the Vex ships change course. Their shield frequency shifts during major navigational adjustments, creates a momentary vulnerability. For how long? General Blackwood demanded. About 2.7 seconds, Dr. Novak replied. Not long enough for conventional weapons to lock on and fire. But, I prompted, sensing there was more. Doctor. Novak glanced at Dr. Palmer, who nodded her approval. But we have been working on something else. A modified version of the quantum field generator that detected your communications in the first place. Theoretically, it could disrupt their shield for longer, maybe 20 seconds. Theoretically, Officer Krill repeated skeptically. We haven't exactly had time to test it, Dr. Novak admitted. What's the catch? I asked, recognizing the hesitation in his voice. Doctor. Palmer answered. It has to be delivered directly to the Vex command ship. The generator needs to be within 1 kilometer to work. A suicide mission, General Blackwood stated flatly. Not necessarily, Dr. Novak countered. We have modified one of our experimental spacecraft. A small crew could approach under the guise of a diplomatic vessel, deploy the device, and hopefully escape before the Vex realize what's happening. Once their shields are down, what's the plan? I asked. We hit them with everything we have got, General Blackwood replied. It won't destroy their fleet, but it might convince them that Earth is too costly a target. It was desperate. It was reckless. It was exactly the kind of plan the Council would debate for cycles without ever implementing. The IT was brilliantly human. I will pilot the mission, I heard myself say. The room fell silent. Ambassador, Dr. Palmer asked, clearly surprised. My ship's transponder codes will get us closer than any Earth vessel, I explained. And I know Confederation protocols that might buy us additional time. Us? Officer Krill questioned. The celestial formality requires a minimum crew of 3, I explained. I will need volunteers. I'm in, Dr. Novak said immediately. Someone needs to operate the quantum device. You will need security, Officer Krill added with characteristic Vraxian pragmatism. General Blackwood studied me closely. You understand this violates your non-intervention protocols? The Council could exile you. If we fail, there won't be a Council left to exile anyone, I replied. And so it was decided. While Earth's defenses mobilized as a distraction, we would strike at the heart of the Vex fleet. The celestial formality approached the Vex command vessel under diplomatic protocols, transmitting standard Confederation identification codes. Dr. Novak sat at what humans would call the co-pilot position, monitoring the quantum device. Officer Krill stood ready at the weapons station, though we hoped combat wouldn't be necessary. They are acknowledging our approach, Whistle reported from the communication station back at Earth's command center. But they are asking for verification codes. transmitting secondary diplomatic clearance. I responded, sending codes that should buy us another few minutes. The massive Vex command ship loomed ahead, a nightmarish construction of black metal and green energy conduits. As we drew closer, I could see it was already processing data from the Neptune outpost, vulnerable during the transfer. "We are within 2 kilometers, Dr. Novak reported. "Quantum device ready. They are scanning us," Whistle warned. "Verification failed. They know evasive maneuvers," I ordered, banking the ship sharply as the first Vex energy weapons fired toward us. "We need to get closer," Dr. Novak shouted over the ship's alarms. Officer Krill braced against the weapons console. "We won't survive another direct hit." The ship shuddered as a glancing blast struck our port side. Systems flickered and warning lights flashed across the control panel that I made a decision. "Initiating emergency protocol, Zeta 9. "What does that do?" Dr. Novak asked. "It's going to look like our core is destabilizing," I explained, programming the sequence. "Standard procedure is to allow a damaged diplomatic vessel safe distance before detonation." "Will they fall for that?" Officer Krill asked skeptically. "It's not a trick they'd expect," I replied. "The Confederation never sacrifices its personnel." The gambit worked momentarily. The Vex weapons paused as our ship drifted closer, venting harmless but impressive-looking plasma. "0.8 kilometers, Dr. Novak reported. 0.7, 0.6, they're scanning again," Officer Krill warned. "They're not falling for it much longer." 0.5 kilometers, Dr. Novak announced. "We are in range. Activating quantum device now." The device hummed to life, emitting a field of energy invisible to the naked eye, but devastating to the precisely calibrated Vex shields. "It's working," Dr. Novak exclaimed. "Their shield frequency is destabilizing." Back on Earth, General Blackwood gave the order. "All units, fire." Earth's hastily assembled defenses launched everything they had: nuclear missiles guided by Confederation technology, experimental energy weapons, and even conventional explosives. Alone, none would have scratched the Vex ships. But with their shields disrupted by our quantum device, the barrage found vulnerable targets. The command ship shuddered as the first impact struck. Secondary explosions cascaded along its hull as systems overloaded. "We have done enough damage to disrupt their data transfer," Dr. Novak shouted over the rumble of our own damaged ship. "The Confederation locations are safe." "Time to leave," I announced, engaging our emergency thrusters, but the celestial formality wouldn't respond. "The helm is unresponsive," I reported, fighting the controls. "The last hit must have damaged the navigation system." Officer Krill performed a rapid system check. "Thrusters at 20%. We can move, but not fast enough to escape the blast radius if that command ship goes critical." Dr. Novak looked at us both, a strange calm settling over his features. "We have completed the mission. The Confederation will be warned. Earth is saved. That is unacceptable," Officer Krill stated firmly. "Report to the escape pod. Both of you." "The pod only fits 2, I pointed out. "I am aware," the Vraxian warrior replied. "My species evolved to survive extreme conditions. I will remain and manually pilot the ship clear after your departure." "Krill, the damage is too severe," I argued. "You won't. It is decided, Ambassador," Krill interrupted. "This is the logical solution." As if to punctuate the point, another explosion rocked the Vex command ship. Our time was running out. "Go," Krill insisted. "Tell the Council that humans aren't too young for space. They just needed the right motivation." The escape pod ejected moments before the Vex command ship's primary power core went critical. The resulting explosion engulfed both the command ship and the celestial formality. Officer Krill's sacrifice had given us the few seconds needed to reach safe distance. As our pod drifted toward Earth, I watched the remaining Vex ships frantically reorganize, then retreat from the system. Without their command ship and the stolen data, their mission had failed. "They are leaving," Dr. Novak observed quietly. "Yes," I agreed, and quite confused, I imagine. They expected an easy conquest of a primitive world and an oblivious confederation. They found neither. The Grand Council chamber felt different as I entered, smaller somehow, less imposing. Perhaps I had changed. Ambassador Zayx, 427, Grand Counselor Vrex, 9 acknowledged. We have reviewed your report on the Earth incident. And I prompted, my usual diplomatic patience exhausted. Your actions violated numerous protocols. Counselor Druum noted severely. Sharing Confederation technology, involving yourself in a military conflict, sacrificing a Confederation vessel, saving the Confederation from certain destruction. I added, an uncomfortable silence followed. Be that as it may, Vrex, 9 continued. Protocols exist for a reason. The Council has deliberated at length about appropriate measures. If I may interrupt, a new voice announced. Dr. Jessica Palmer strode into the chamber, accompanied by General Blackwood and Dr. Novak. This is highly irregular. Counselor Druum protested. Humans are not permitted in Council proceedings. Actually, Dr. Palmer replied calmly. According to Confederation Charter, Section 7, Paragraph 12, any species that has provided significant military assistance to the Confederation may send observers to Council sessions relevant to their contribution. I suppressed what humans would call a smile. They'd been studying. Furthermore, General Blackwood added, Earth formally requests Confederation membership, as is our right under Section 3, having demonstrated both technological capability and diplomatic maturity. The Council erupted in protests. Order, demanded Vrex 9. This is unprecedented. So was the Vex attack, Dr. Palmer countered. Times change, Counselor. The Confederation needs to change with them. Science Minister Oops' tentacles waved thoughtfully. The humans did save us from a threat we never saw coming. Perhaps there is wisdom in different perspectives. They are still too young. Counselor Druum insisted a doctor. Novak stepped forward. With respect, Counselor, age isn't everything. Earth managed to develop a quantum disruptor your scientists hadn't conceived of. We mobilized a planetary defense in days while your council was still debating protocols. We may be young, Dr. Palmer added, but sometimes youth has advantages. Adaptability, innovation, courage. The council chambers fell silent as the counselors communicated telepathically among themselves, a process that typically took hours. To everyone's surprise, they reached consensus in minutes. The Council recognizes Earth's contribution, Vrex, 9 announced. Provisional membership is granted, with a probationary period of 50 Earth years. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. As we left the chamber, Dr. Palmer turned to me. So, Ambassador, what happens now? Now, I replied, my pigmentation shifting to a satisfied blue. We proved them wrong all over again. After all, humans may be young, but the Confederation suddenly seems very, very old. Sometimes the universe needs a little youth to shake things up. Let me tell you something about humans. They are absolutely ridiculous creatures. Soft, squishy things with bones on the inside. Who designed a species like that? Not that it matters. For 10,000 cycles, the Galactic Alliance ignored their little blue planet. We had good reasons. I assure you. My name is Zax Vorpal, Senior Diplomatic Historian for the Alliance Central Archives, and I'm recording this historical account because, well, someone has to tell the truth. The official records are so sanitized, they practically smell of disinfectant. But I was there. I saw it all unfold. And frankly, it's too absurd not to share. Earth was categorized as a Class D development world, barely worth monitoring. Their technology was primitive, their political structures chaotic, and their entertainment programming consisted mostly of watching other humans pretend to be different humans. Fascinating waste of cognitive resources. The Alliance had bigger concerns. The Krex Dominion was expanding along our eastern quadrant. The Pulsar Concordance was threatening trade routes, and the Supreme Council was deadlocked on whether to allow recreational dimension hopping. Standard political nonsense. When Scout Vessel Zeta 19 picked up unusual energy signatures from Earth in the year humans called 2047. It was flagged as irregular but non-priority. The report was filed under miscellaneous anomalies and promptly forgotten. That was our first mistake. Our second mistake? Not realizing humans are like those small furry pets some council members keep, seemingly harmless until they chew through your quantum stabilizers while you're sleeping. The real trouble began when Captain Nix Quasar of the Alliance Protection Fleet received orders to investigate a distress signal near the Cygnus Arm routine mission. Nothing special. Captain, approaching coordinates now, First Officer Drell announced, her 4 eyes fixed on the navigation console. Nix sighed, mandibles clicking with boredom. Another day, another rescue mission. Probably some trade vessel with engine problems. Sir, Communications Officer Vox interrupted, antennae twitching nervously. We are detecting an unusual vessel. Configuration unknown. Nix straightened in his command chair. Unknown? Display. The view screen activated, showing a small, asymmetrical craft constructed of what appear to be metal sheets and ceramic tiles. How quaint. Is that held together with adhesives? Nix asked, incredulous. Affirmative, Captain, Science Officer Lumi replied. And it appears to be leaking oxygen. Deliberately. Who would waste oxygen? Drell wondered. The communications panel chimed. Captain, they are hailing us. Audio only, primitive radio waves. This should be entertaining. Nix muttered. Put it through. A strange voice filled the bridge. This is Commander Thomas Jackson of the Earth Space Agency Deep Exploration Vessel Horizon. We come in peace and friendship. Our life support is failing. Request assistance. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Earth, Nix whispered to Lumi. That backwater planet in the Sol system? Lumi nodded, all 6 eye stalks blinking in surprise. How'd they even get this far? Drell asked. Nix shrugged his upper shoulders. Alliance protocol is clear. We render assistance. He pressed the response button. Earth vessel. This is Captain Nix Quasar of the Alliance Protection Fleet. Stand by for rescue procedures. When the airlock cycled open, the bridge crew got their first look at humans up close. They were even stranger in person. Only 2 eyes, no exoskeleton, skin in various shades of beige and brown. 5 of them stood there, radiating both fear and curiosity. Greetings, Nix said formally. Welcome aboard the Nova Sentinel. The tallest human stepped forward. Commander Jackson, thank you for the rescue. He gestured to his companions. Dr. Patel, our science officer. Lieutenant Reynolds, security. Dr. Zhou, xenobiologist. And Specialist Cooper, our engineer. Nix introduced his own officers, noting how the humans stared at Lumi's eye stalks and Drell's 4 arms with poorly disguised fascination. If I may ask, Nix said carefully, how did your species achieve deep space travel? Our records indicate your civilization is pre-warp. Jackson smiled. We are full of surprises, Captain. Our quantum fold drive is experimental. This was supposed to be a short test jump to Mars. You are approximately 1,500 light-years from your home system, Lumi informed them. That would explain why our navigation system said calculation error. Specialist Cooper mumbled that doctor. Zhou stepped forward, eyes wide. We have dreamed of this moment. Contact with intelligent life beyond Earth. We have so many questions, as do we. Nix replied diplomatically. But first, let's address your immediate needs. Your vessel is quite damaged. It wasn't designed for actual deep space travel, Cooper admitted. Just orbital tests. When the fold drive malfunctioned, we were lucky to keep life support running this long. Nix was about to respond when the ship's alarm blared. Captain, Vox called urgently. 3 Krex warships decloaking off our starboard bow. Nix's mandibles clicked in alarm. Battle stations. Shields up. The humans exchanged worried glances. Is this normal for a rescue mission? Jackson asked. Not even slightly. Nix replied grimly. The Krex Dominion has been probing our borders for months. You have had the misfortune of arriving during a territorial dispute. The view screen activated, showing a Krex commander, 8 feet of armored reptilian menace with gleaming cybernetic implants. Alliance vessel, the Krex hissed. You have entered contested space. Prepare to be boarded. Contested, Nix retorted. This sector was settled by Alliance Treaty 80 cycles ago. Treaties change, the Krex commander replied ominously. As will the balance of power. The transmission cut. They are powering weapons, Drell reported. Our shields can withstand their initial barrage, Lumi said, but not sustained fire from 3 warships. Specialist Cooper cleared her throat. Excuse me, but maybe we can help. All Alliance crew turned to stare at the human. Your vessel has approximately 1/8 the firepower of a single Krex warship, Nix explained slowly. How exactly could you help? Cooper smiled. Our quantum fold drive works by creating a dimensional pocket. If we could transfer the technology to your torpedoes, we could create localized spatial disruptions in their shield matrix. Lumi finished, eye stalks quivering with excitement. Precisely, Cooper nodded. Nix hesitated. Alliance protocol strictly forbade sharing technology with undeveloped species, but also forbade surrendering to the Krex. How quickly can you modify our weapon systems? He asked. With your help. Cooper glanced at the approaching Krex ships. Just fast enough, I hope. The next 6 hours were a blur of activity. While Nix's crew engaged in evasive maneuvers, Cooper and Dr. Patel worked frantically with the Alliance engineers to adapt the quantum fold technology. I don't understand, Alliance engineer Traz said, watching Cooper rewire a torpedo guidance system. Your species hadn't even achieved unified planetary government. Yet you developed dimensional folding. We are complicated, Cooper replied without looking up. Sometimes we fight amongst ourselves. Sometimes we achieve the impossible. Last Tuesday, I couldn't find my keys, but I can redesign an alien weapon system. Go figure. Your species is deeply confusing, Traz admitted. You should see our reality television, Cooper muttered. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Commander Jackson was providing unexpected tactical insights. The Krex formation has a weakness, he observed, studying the sensor displays. They're protecting their flagship at the expense of their flanks. How would you know Krex battle tactics? Drell asked suspiciously. Jackson shrugged. I wouldn't. But military strategy has certain universals. I studied historical Earth generals. Alexander, Hannibal, Napoleon, Zhukov. Humans have fought wars among themselves. Nix asked, surprised. Constantly, Jackson replied. It's one of our least attractive features, but it means we understand combat. Nix considered this. What would you suggest? A feint toward their flagship to draw their defensive fire, then hit the leftmost vessel with your modified torpedoes. Create a cascading disruption. Nix nodded slowly. It could work. When the torpedoes were ready, Nix addressed the combined crew. This is highly irregular, he said. Alliance protocol doesn't allow for cooperation with pre-contact civilizations, but circumstances have forced our hands. Or in your case, he nodded to the humans, your curiously non-clawed appendages. We are honored to help, Jackson replied. We have one chance, Nix continued. If these modifications work, we create a dimensional fold inside their shield matrix, causing a feedback loop that should disable their systems. If it fails, we all die horribly, Drell finished helpfully. Thank you, First Officer, Nix said dryly. Battle stations, everyone. The plan went perfectly, right until it didn't. The feint drew the Krex ships into position, and the modified torpedoes launched flawlessly. When they detonated, the leftmost Krex ship's shields collapsed spectacularly, exactly as planned. Then, unexpectedly, the dimensional pocket expanded, growing larger instead of collapsing. What's happening? Nix demanded as the bridge view screen showed a swirling vortex forming where the Krex ship had been. The fold is expanding exponentially, Lumi exclaimed. It's creating a temporary wormhole. That's not supposed to happen, Cooper whispered, eyes wide. Where does it lead? Nix asked. Before anyone could answer, dozens of ships began pouring through the wormhole, sleek, deadly vessels of unknown configuration. Captain, Vox called out, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. The view screen shifted to show a new alien. Humanoid, but with luminescent skin that pulsed with changing patterns. Alliance vessel. The being said in perfect galactic standard, I am Admiral Zen of the Temporal Confederation. We have been trapped in pocket dimension C, 592, for 300 years, unable to break through. Your dimensional disruption created a pathway home. We are in your debt. Nix stared, mandibles slack with shock. The Temporal Confederation was legendary, a highly advanced civilization that had mysteriously vanished centuries ago. Your timing is excellent, Nix finally managed. We are currently engaged with Krex Dominion forces. Admiral Zen's skin flashed blue with determination. The Krex, old enemies. We would be pleased to assist you. What followed was the shortest battle in recorded Alliance history. The Temporal Confederation ships made quick work of the remaining Krex warships, which retreated in disarray. After the battle, Admiral Zen's hologram stood in the Nova Sentinel's conference room, addressing the combined crews. Our civilization owes its freedom to this unusual collaboration. Zen said, luminescent skin pulsing gold with gratitude. Particularly to the humans, I believe you called yourselves. Your dimensional technology, while crude, was the key. Crude, Cooper muttered indignantly. A happy accident, Jackson said diplomatically. We were just trying not to die. Admiral Zen continued. Captain Quasar, the Alliance must be informed of our return and of the humans' contribution. The Temporal Confederation will honor this debt. Nix looked deeply uncomfortable. Admiral, regarding the humans, they are technically a pre-contact civilization. Our intervention here violated several Alliance protocols. Zen's skin flashed purple with amusement. Captain, they're clearly capable of deep space travel and dimensional manipulation. Whatever classification your bureaucracy has assigned them seems outdated. That's putting it mildly, Dr. Zhou murmured. And that, dear listeners, is how 5 lost humans accidentally changed the course of galactic politics. When the Nova Sentinel returned to Alliance space with a human vessel in tow and a long-lost Temporal Confederation fleet beside them, the Supreme Council nearly had a collective apoplexy. The emergency session was broadcast across all Alliance worlds. I watched from my junior diplomat's office, fascinated as Supreme Counselor Thax, all 7 feet of ceremonial robes and pompous arrogance, addressed the chamber. This is unprecedented. Thax thundered, tentacles writhing with agitation. Captain Quasar not only revealed our existence to a primitive species, but collaborated with them technologically. Admiral Zen's hologram stood calmly beside the human delegation. With respect, Counselor, without human intervention, the Temporal Confederation would remain trapped and the Nova Sentinel likely destroyed by Krex forces. That doesn't change protocol, Thax insisted. Earth remains classified as a developing world, unready for galactic citizenship. Commander Jackson stepped forward. Counselor, may I speak? The chamber fell silent. No representative of a non-member species had ever addressed the Supreme Council directly. This is highly irregular, Thax muttered, but gestured for Jackson to continue. Esteemed Council, Jackson began, humanity doesn't claim to be perfect. We have made countless mistakes throughout our history. We have fought wars, damaged our environment, created reality television. A confused murmur rippled through the council at the last item. But we have also written symphonies, cured diseases, and looked to the stars with wonder rather than fear. When our quantum fold drive malfunctioned, we found ourselves alone in the vastness of space. Instead of panic, we saw opportunity. Instead of suspicion, we offered trust. Jackson gestured toward Captain Nix. When the Krex attacked, we didn't hesitate to help our rescuers. Not because of protocol, but because it was right. If cooperation in the face of danger isn't the foundation of your alliance, then what is? Silence hung in the chamber until a small, ancient counselor named Vivi hobbled forward. I have reviewed the technical specifications of the human quantum fold drive, she said, her voice surprisingly strong for her diminutive size. Their approach to dimensional mechanics is unorthodox. Brilliant, but unorthodox. They conceptualized principles our scientists dismissed centuries ago as too unstable. Because they are unstable, Thax protested. Yes, Vivi agreed. Like all truly transformative ideas, the humans didn't know certain approaches were impossible, so they simply did them anyway. She turned to Jackson. Your species has a unique perspective we didn't know we needed. Admiral Zen stepped forward, skin glowing bright white. The Temporal Confederation formally requests that humanity be granted probationary alliance membership. We will sponsor them. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Sponsorship from the legendary Temporal Confederation was unprecedented. Thax sputtered, they haven't even unified their own planet. Actually, Dr. Zhou interjected. Our Quantum Fold project was the first truly global initiative in Earth's history. Nations that were historical adversaries contributed resources and expertise. Counselor Vivi smiled, showing tiny pointed teeth. Sometimes, facing the unknown together accomplishes what diplomacy cannot. After hours of debate, the Council narrowly approved Earth's probationary status. I was assigned as cultural liaison to the human delegation, my first significant diplomatic posting. Their quarters in the Alliance Central Embassy became informally known as the Earth Wing, and quickly became the most fascinating assignment on the station. 6 months after Earth joined the Alliance, I was reviewing historical artifacts with Dr. Zhou when we discovered something remarkable. This can't be right, I muttered, staring at the ancient Temporal Confederation text. According to this, your arrival was prophesied 5,000 years ago. Dr. Zhou leaned over my shoulder. What does it say? Roughly translated, when the silent world speaks, the lost shall return, and the shadow shall be revealed. This silent world appears to reference Earth. Your radio signals were considered too primitive to qualify as interstellar communication, and the lost would be the Temporal Confederation, Zhou nodded. But what's this shadow? Before I could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. We rushed to the command center where chaos reigned. Supreme Counselor Thax was shouting at Admiral Zen, while Captain Nix and Commander Jackson tried to make sense of sensor readings. What's happening? I asked Specialist Cooper, who was frantically working at a console. Remember how our quantum fold experiment went slightly wrong and created a temporary wormhole? She replied without looking up. Yes, well, it seems it also created a cascading dimensional fracture that's been expanding through subspace. The Temporal Confederation detected it this morning. Is that bad? I asked hesitantly. Fine bad, Cooper replied. If by bad, you mean potentially allowing ancient extra-dimensional entities to enter our reality and consume all organic life, then yes, pretty bad. That would be the shadow, Dr. Zhou murmured. Commander Jackson joined us. The Alliance Council is deadlocked on how to respond. Traditional dimensional sealing techniques won't work because of how our quantum fold technology interacted with Alliance systems. So we accidentally tore a hole in reality, Cooper summarized, and now everyone's arguing instead of fixing it. Welcome to interstellar politics, I said glumly. Jackson straightened his uniform. We need to take action now. Cooper, can we modify the fold drive to collapse the fracture? Theoretically, yes, she replied, but we need to deliver it directly to the fracture point. Someone would have to pilot a ship there, and they probably wouldn't make it back. Jackson nodded grimly. I will do it. Not alone, Captain Nix said, approaching. Alliance protocol clearly states, with all due respect, Captain, Jackson interrupted, Earth caused this problem. Earth should fix it. Admiral Zen joined them, skin pulsing red and gold. The prophecy speaks of sacrifice and unity. Not one species alone, but together. And so a joint mission was quickly organized. Commander Jackson piloting with Captain Nix navigating, Cooper, an Alliance engineer, Traz working on the modified fold drive. The rest of us could only watch and wait. The fracture had manifested near a dead star on the edge of Alliance space. As their small vessel approached, our monitoring stations displayed the horrifying reality, a tear in the fabric of space-time, with writhing shapes visible just beyond. Those are definitely not friendly interdimensional tourists. Cooper's voice came through comms, strained but still maintaining humor. Approaching delivery point, Jackson reported. Full drive modifications complete. Preparing for detonation sequence. Then disaster. A tendril of darkness lashed out from the fracture, enveloping their ship. We have lost propulsion, Nix reported, his usual composure finally breaking. Unable to retreat to safe distance after deployment. Silence fell across the command center. The mission parameters were clear. Someone had to manually activate the full drive at the fracture point. There would be no escape. It's been an honor serving with you, Captain. Jackson's voice came through, remarkably steady. The honor was mine, Commander, Nix replied. Your species would have made exceptional Alliance members. Would have. Jackson chuckled. Don't count us out yet. That's when Specialist Cooper's voice broke in. Actually, I think I have figured something out. The fracture has unique temporal properties. If we reverse the polarity of the fold drive, while simultaneously initiating a controlled quantum cascade, we could ride the dimensional shockwave back to normal space. Traz finished excitedly. It's never been attempted, Cooper admitted. The mathematical probability of success is, don't tell me the odds, Jackson interrupted. Just do it. What followed was the most spectacular light show the Alliance had ever witnessed. The modified fold drive created a controlled implosion that sealed the fracture while generating a quantum shockwave that rippled across 3 sectors. When it cleared, their vessel was tumbling through space, damaged but intact, with all crew members alive. AS rescue ships rushed to retrieve them. Supreme Counselor Thax turned to me. eye stalks drooping with a mixture of relief and resignation. You realize what this means, don't you, Zax? He asked. That humans saved the galaxy, and we will never hear the end of it. I suggested. Worse, Thack sighed. We will have to grant them full Alliance membership. Can you imagine what they will be like with actual authority? 1 year later, I stood beside Commander Jackson, now Ambassador Jackson, as Earth was formally inducted into the Galactic Alliance. The ceremony was broadcast to all Alliance worlds, and for the first time, to Earth itself. Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this? I asked him as we watched representatives from 100 species mingle with the expanded human delegation. Not even close, Jackson admitted. When we left Earth, we were just testing an experimental drive. Now we are helping establish interstellar trade routes and cultural exchange programs. Supreme Counselor Thax approached, his ceremonial robes even more elaborate than usual. Ambassador Jackson, he said stiffly, the Council has reviewed your proposal for an Alliance Rapid Response Force, combining human tactical thinking with Temporal Confederation technology. And? Jackson asked. It has been approved, Thax said, managing to sound both impressed and irritated. Admiral Zen will oversee the technical aspects, while you will direct strategic operations. Thank you, Counselor, Jackson replied diplomatically. When Thax had moved on, Jackson turned to me. He still doesn't like us much, does he? He's coming around, I replied. When the humans and Temporal Confederation co-developed the new shield harmonics that rendered Krek's weapons obsolete, you earned significant political capital. Jackson smiled. And the fact that Dr. Zhou's cultural exchange program has made Earth entertainment the most popular media in 3 quadrants probably helps. I groaned. Please, not another discussion of your cat videos. The Alliance was not prepared for those. Across the room, Specialist Cooper was enthusiastically explaining something to a group of Alliance scientists, her hands gesturing wildly as they watched with a mixture of horror and fascination. Should we be concerned about that? I asked. Jackson followed my gaze. Cooper's showing them her new theory on transdimensional propulsion. She thinks we can reduce interstellar travel time by 60%. Is it dangerous? Almost certainly, Jackson replied cheerfully, but potentially revolutionary. That seems to be humanity's specialty. I observed as the celebration continued around us. Ambassador Jackson grew serious. You know, the Alliance ignored Earth for thousands of years. We developed in isolation, making countless mistakes along the way. And now I wonder if that was exactly what needed to happen. He gestured to where Captain Nix was deep in conversation with Admiral Zen. The Alliance had become rigid, bound by tradition and protocol. The Temporal Confederation was lost. The Kreks were expanding unchecked. And then humans arrived and accidentally fixed everything by breaking the rules you didn't even know existed. I finished. Sometimes the most valuable perspective comes from those who don't know what's impossible, Jackson said. Later that evening, as the formal ceremonies concluded, I found myself alone with Admiral Zen on an observation deck overlooking the vast Alliance capital. Was it really a prophecy? I asked. Or did the Temporal Confederation somehow know what would happen? Zen's skin rippled with patterns I couldn't interpret. Time isn't as linear as most species believe, historian Vorpal. Let's just say that humanity's arrival on the galactic stage was anticipated. Did you manipulate events to bring this about? I pressed. Admiral Zen smiled mysteriously. The universe has its own way of bringing together what needs to be connected. We merely observed the pattern. I watched as a small Earth transport ship departed for home, carrying the first official Alliance delegation to visit humanity's homeworld. What happens now? I asked. Now. Zen's skin glowed with a warm golden light. Now the real adventure begins. And so it did. The species that the Alliance had ignored for millennia had become its unlikely savior, bringing with them chaos, innovation, and those inexplicable cat videos. This is Zax Vorpal, senior diplomatic historian, concluding this unofficial record. May future historians forgive the lack of protocol on my account, but then again, that's precisely the lesson humanity taught us. Sometimes the rules need breaking. Sometimes the most important voice is the one you never bothered to hear. The thing about humans is that they never know when to quit. This particular trait makes them both fascinating and deeply annoying. My name is Zax, 7B, Senior Xenoanthropologist of the Galactic Council's Division of Primitive Species Research. I have spent 42 solar cycles studying humans, and I still cannot decide whether they are brilliantly resourceful or catastrophically stupid. Perhaps they are both. Before I explain how humans went from being the galaxy's most avoided species to becoming its most sought-after party planners, I should clarify something. When I say humans had no friends, I mean they had no friends. Zero. None. Not a single species in the Orion Arm would respond to their desperate, mathematically incorrect radio signals. There were 4,228 spacefaring civilizations actively avoiding Earth's solar system, marking it with the universal symbol for approach at your own risk. Contains unpredictable bipeds. The Vreenak of Delta Pavones had a saying, "Never trust a species that still gets excited about explosions." The quantum hive mind of Beetlejuice put it more directly. Humans are what happens when evolution prioritizes curiosity over common sense. We had our reasons for keeping distance. Humans were the only known species to develop nuclear weapons before achieving reliable dental care. They fought wars over invisible borderlines and pieces of colored cloth on sticks. And most alarmingly, they kept sending spacecraft with pictures of naked humans and maps to their home planet into deep space, apparently oblivious to the fact that the universe contains entities that consider human flesh a delicacy. But I digress. This story begins with an accidental first contact in the Earth year 2047. Ambassador Krill of the Proxima Centauri diplomatic fleet never intended to reveal himself to humans. His small research vessel had simply suffered a minor gravitational propulsion failure while observing a human satellite launch. The failure led to a brief visibility in Earth's atmosphere, what humans would later call that weird blue swirly thing over Cape Canaveral. Within 6 hours, Krill's ship was trending on something humans called TikTok. By the next day, conspiracy theorists had enhanced, analyzed, and turned the footage into merchandise. 3 days later, humans had composed songs about the event, complete with a dance challenge that involved spinning in circles and falling down. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The humans have spotted Ambassador Krill, announced High Chancellor Zog, her 7 eye stalks twitching nervously. This constitutes a Class 3 visibility breach. Ambassador Krill, a gelatinous being who communicated through color pulses, turned a deep shade of embarrassed purple. My deepest apologies, High Chancellor. The quantum fluctuation was unexpected. The damage is done, said General Vrex of the Reptilian Alliance, his scales bristling with annoyance. The question now is, how do we proceed? Dr. Quasar, the Council's head psychologist, floated forward in her containment bubble. Perhaps this is the opportunity we have been waiting for. Our centuries of observation suggest humans are reaching a stage where continued isolation may push them toward more aggressive space exploration. Controlled contact might be preferable to their haphazard stumbling into a populated sector. Silence fell over the council chamber. Making official contact with humans was unprecedented. For millennia, the policy had been to observe but never engage, like watching particularly volatile bacteria through a microscope. High Chancellor Zog's central eye swiveled toward me. Xenoanthropologist Zax, 7B, you have studied humans extensively. What do you predict would be their response to formal contact? All 28 members of the council turned to face me. I clear my breathing tubes nervously. Humans are unpredictable, but they follow patterns. Based on their cultural artifacts, what they call movies, they have 3 primary responses to extraterrestrial contact: shoot at it, try to dissect it, or attempt to mate with it. General Vrex made a sound like gravel in a blender. That settles it. We continue isolation protocol. However, I continued, there is a 4th response that appears in 12.7% of their fictional contact scenarios. They throw a party. A party, echoed Ambassador Florp of the Gas Giant Confederation, the methane sacs on his head inflating slightly. Yes, a social gathering involving music, intoxicating beverages, and rhythmic physical movements they call dancing. Humans use these events to establish friendship bonds. Dr. Quasar's containment bubble brightened with interest. Fascinating. You suggest we initiate contact through a social ritual rather than diplomatic channels. Precisely. Humans respond better to casual interaction than formal proceedings. They become suspicious when things appear too structured or official. High Chancellor Zog's eye stalks waved thoughtfully. Very well. We shall attempt a party approach. But who will be our representative? Every council member suddenly became intensely interested in the floor, ceiling, or their own appendages. I believe, I said carefully, that since I have the most extensive knowledge of human customs, I should lead this mission. And that, dear readers, is how I found myself plummeting toward Earth in a diplomatic pod, clutching a bottle of fermented Andromedan seaweed juice and wearing what my research suggested was appropriate attire, a Hawaiian shirt and something humans call cargo shorts. My landing site, a place called Wyoming, was chosen specifically for its low population density and high number of historical UFO sightings. The logic was that humans in such areas were more psychologically prepared for extraterrestrial contact. What my research failed to mention was that Wyoming in February is cold. Extraordinarily cold. The kind of cold that made my exoskeleton contract painfully and my antennae curl into tight spirals. As my pod's door hissed open, I was greeted by a vast whiteness and a blast of wind that nearly knocked me over. Squinting through the swirling snow, I could make out a single structure about 100 meters away, a small building with a flashing sign that read, "Last Chance Gas and Tackle." I activated my universal translator, adjusted my thermal regulator, and trudged toward the building. My 6 legs sank deep into the snow with each step. The interior of the establishment was warm, dimly lit, and smelled strongly of something burned and something else fermented. A single human male stood behind a counter, his lower jaw hanging open as I entered. He wore a head covering with the words, "Alien Hunting Guide," ironically emblazoned across it. "Greetings, human," I said cheerfully. "I come in peace and would like to throw a party. Perhaps you could direct me to your leader?" The human continued to stare. Then he slowly reached below the counter and produced a metal container. He raised it to his mouth, tilted his head back, and consumed the contents in one long motion. "Well, I will be damned," he finally said. "You look just like the thing that abducted my cousin Earl back in '98. "I can assure you, I have abducted no Earls," I replied, "although I cannot speak for all galactic citizens. Some species do collect biological samples." The human, whose name badge identified him as Hank, narrowed his eyes. "What kind of alien are you exactly?" "I'm a Zentorian. My species evolved from arthropod-like creatures on a planet approximately 47 light years from here." Hank nodded as if this was perfectly reasonable. "And you want to throw a party?" "Yes. The Galactic Council has determined that social interaction would be the least traumatic form of first contact with your species." "Huh?" Hank scratched his facial hair. "Well, ain't nobody gonna come to a party out here. You want a real party, you need to go to Vegas." "Vegas?" "Las Vegas. Sin City. The entertainment capital of the world." Hank gestured vaguely westward, about 600 miles that way. "And this Vegas is where humans gather for optimal festivity. Buddy, Vegas is where we go when we want to forget we are human for a while. You'll fit right in." This seemed promising. How would one reach this Vegas? Hank studied me for a moment. "Well, you sure as hell can't walk. And I don't think the bus driver would let you board looking like that." He gestured at my entire body. "Tell you what, my shift ends in 20 minutes. I will drive you." And just like that, I found myself embarking on a road trip with a human I had met mere minutes ago. According to my research, this was either extremely dangerous or the beginning of a profound friendship. Possibly both. The journey to Las Vegas with Hank was educational. I learned several hundred new English words, most of which appeared to be profanities directed at other drivers. I also discovered that humans have a ritual called road trip snacks, which consists primarily of consuming items that turn one's fingers orange and drinking massive quantities of caffeinated beverages. "So let me get this straight," Hank said, steering with one hand while gesturing with a cylinder of processed cheese. "You aliens have been watching us for thousands of years. And instead of helping us cure cancer or giving us cool technology, you decided the best move was to throw a party. Your species has a troubling history with advanced technology," I explained. "We once left a detailed schematic for clean energy near a human settlement in ancient Mesopotamia. 6 months later, they had turned it into a more efficient way to launch flaming projectiles at their neighbors." Hank nodded. "Fair point." As we approached the city, The landscape transformed from barren desert to a dazzling display of lights that outshone most stellar nurseries I had studied. Massive structures rose from the sand, defying both gravity and good taste. "Welcome to Vegas, baby," Hank announced as we drove down a boulevard lined with replicas of Earth monuments. "What do you think?" I pressed my face against the window in wonder. "Humans built this? In a desert?" "Yeah. Nothing says human ingenuity like putting thousands of gallons of water in the middle of nowhere just so we can watch it dance to Celine Dion's songs." We parked at a towering building Hank called the Starlight Casino. The structure was designed to resemble a cosmic-themed fantasy, with twinkling lights and stylized planets. Ironically, it looked nothing like actual space, but exactly like what humans thought space should look like. "Okay," Hank said, turning to me in the parked vehicle. "We need to figure out your cover story, because alien throwing a first contact party might not fly, even in Vegas." "I have prepared for this," I assured him, activating my holographic disguise field. My exoskeleton and multiple limbs vanished, replaced by the appearance of a human male in a silver jumpsuit. Hank blinked. "That's your disguise? You look like an escapee from a 1970s disco competition." My research indicated this was appropriate attire for Las Vegas. Maybe in 1977. But actually, yeah, this might work. We will say you are a performer from Europe. Nobody questions weird stuff if you say you're European. With my identity established as Zax, the amazing techno dancer from Sweden, we entered the casino. The sensory assault was immediate. Flashing lights, ringing machines, clouds of smoke, and humans in various states of financial and moral distress. "Now," Hank said, "to throw the galaxy's biggest party, we need 3 things: a venue, attractions, and guests. The good news is I know a guy." Hank's guy turned out to be his second cousin twice removed, a casino event manager named Barry Silverman. We found Barry at the high-stakes poker table, where he appeared to be losing significant sums of money with remarkable composure. "Hank, what the hell are you doing in Vegas?" Barry asked, not taking his eyes off his cards. "Barry, meet Zax. He's a performer from Sweden, and he wants to throw the biggest party Vegas has ever seen. Tonight." This finally drew Barry's attention away from his game. He looked me up and down, taking in my silver jumpsuit and slightly off-putting holographic human face. "Tonight? Impossible. Unless..." His eyes narrowed. "How much money are we talking about?" I produced a small bag from my pocket dimension and placed it on the table. "Would 3 pounds of flawless diamonds be sufficient?" Barry's eyes widened as he peeked into the bag. "Gentlemen, I fold," he told the other poker players. Then to us, "Let's talk in my office." 6 hours later, the Starlight Casino's grand ballroom had been transformed. Hank had made good use of my unlimited diamond supply, hiring the best decorators, caterers, and entertainment acts Vegas could provide on short notice. Barry, meanwhile, had leveraged his connections to ensure that everyone from celebrities to politicians to influencers received invitations to the Cosmic Connection, Earth's first intergalactic mixer. "You are sure the rest of your alien buddies are going to show up?" Barry asked nervously, adjusting his bow tie. "Because right now, you are the only extraterrestrial at Earth's first intergalactic anything. They will come," I assured him, though privately, I was beginning to worry. I had sent the coordinates and time to the Galactic Council hours ago, but had received no confirmation. What if they had changed their minds? What if I was about to host a party where I was the only non-human attendee? As if sensing my concern, Hank clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry, Spacebug. Worst case scenario, everyone gets drunk, has a good time, and thinks this was all an elaborate theme party." The doors opened at 9 p.m. Earth time, and humans began to arrive, cautiously at first, then in growing numbers as word spread about the mysterious event. By 10 p.m., the ballroom was filled with Earth's elite, all drawn by curiosity and the promise of open bars. At 10:30 p.m., with no sign of the Galactic Council, I decided to proceed with the plan regardless. I took to the stage, my holographic disguise now modified to include a shimmering cape that Hank insisted made me look more legit. "Greetings, humans of Earth," I announced into the microphone. The room gradually quieted. "My name is Zax, 7B, senior xenoanthropologist of the Galactic Council. I represent one of 4,228 spacefaring civilizations that have been observing your planet for centuries. A murmur ran through the crowd, most assuming this was part of the evening's entertainment. Tonight marks the end of Earth's isolation. We have chosen to make formal contact through this social gathering because, frankly, every time we have tried more direct approaches, you people shoot at us. A few laughs rippled through the audience. For too long, the galaxy has viewed humans as the awkward neighbors who might accidentally blow themselves up while trying to change a light bulb. But we have come to appreciate your species' unique qualities. Your resilience, your creativity, and your absolutely baffling optimism in the face of overwhelming evidence that you should probably just give up. More laughter now, though tinged with uncertainty. To demonstrate our peaceful intentions, I invite you to party with us. Because if there's one thing humans do better than any species in the known universe, it's celebrating for no good reason. I raised my arms dramatically, prepared to trigger the spectacular light show we had planned. But before I could, the ceiling of the ballroom began to shimmer. A collective gasp rose from the crowd as the solid roof seemed to dissolve, revealing the night sky, which was now filled with spacecraft of various shapes and sizes, their hulls glowing with colors no human I had seen before. A beam of light shot down from the largest vessel, and suddenly the stage beside me was filled with beings. Chancellor Zog with her eye stalks, Ambassador Krill pulsing excited colors, Dr. Quasar in her bubble, and dozens of other council members, all wearing what they believed to be appropriate Earth party attire, mostly variations on Hawaiian shirts and sombreros. "We come a party," announced Chancellor Zog, her translator making her sound like a 1980s workout video instructor. For a moment, there was complete silence in the ballroom. I braced myself for panic. Then, from somewhere in the back of the room, a human shouted, "Best Vegas party ever!" And just like that, the ice was broken. Humans surged forward, drinks in hand, eager to meet their galactic neighbors. Chancellor Zog found herself teaching Earth diplomats the seven-limbed dance of her homeworld. Ambassador Krill discovered that his color-changing abilities made him the hit of the dance floor. Even General Vrex, who had been against the whole idea, was now enthusiastically comparing battle scars with a group of mixed martial arts fighters. Hank sidled up beside me, a drink in each hand. "Gotta say, Zax, when you throw a party, you really throw a party." I accepted one of the drinks. I must admit, I had doubts about this approach. "Nah, you nailed it. Humans can handle almost anything if you add music and an open bar." He clinked his glass against mine. "So what happens now? Galactic Federation? Space travel? You guys gonna share your technology? One step at a time," I cautioned. "Tonight is just about establishing friendly relations. The technical exchanges will come later, once we are reasonably confident you won't immediately weaponize everything we give you." Hank shrugged. "Fair enough. Though I could really use one of those holographic disguise things for my next trip to my ex-wife's wedding." As the night progressed, something remarkable happened. Species that had evolved on planets light years apart found common ground in music, dance, and the universal joy of celebration. The quantum hive mind of Beetlejuice engaged in a heated philosophical debate with a group of college professors. The methane-breathing Floops discovered that their natural gas emissions created spectacular effects in Earth's atmosphere, leading to an impromptu fireworks display. By dawn, humans and aliens alike were exchanging contact information, planning interstellar visits, and in at least one case, discussing the possibilities of cross-species romance. Though Dr. Quasar quickly intervened to explain certain biological incompatibilities. News of the Vegas First Contact Party spread across Earth like wildfire. Within days, humanity was gripped by a mixture of excitement, fear, and an unprecedented surge in sales of tinfoil hats. World leaders scrambled to establish diplomatic protocols for dealing with alien civilizations, only to discover that most extraterrestrial species preferred to communicate via what they called the human app with the disappearing messages. The Galactic Council, meanwhile, found itself dealing with an unexpected problem. Everyone wanted to visit Earth. Species that had previously viewed humans with disdain now saw them as the galaxy's exciting new acquaintances, like finding out that the weird kid from high school had suddenly become cool as for me. I received a promotion to Director of Human Galactic Relations, a position that primarily involved explaining human concepts like weekend brunch and reality television to confused alien diplomats 0.6 months after the Vegas party. Earth hosted the first intergalactic cultural festival, a 2-week event featuring cuisine, art, and music from across the Milky Way. Humans, it turned out, were uniquely equipped to appreciate alien cultures, having spent centuries practicing tolerance for the bizarre behaviors of other humans. 1 year to the day after first contact, I found myself back in Wyoming, sitting beside Hank on the porch of his newly expanded Last Chance Gas, Tackle, and Interstellar Refreshment Station. We watched as ships from various worlds landed in his parking lot, their occupants eager to experience what was being called authentic Earth frontier culture. "You know what's funny?" Hank said, sipping from a bottle of Andromedan seaweed beer, now Earth's fastest-growing import. "We spent all that time sending messages into space, trying to find intelligent life, and all we needed to do was throw a party. The universe works in mysterious ways." I agreed, my exoskeleton comfortably expanded in the summer heat. "Though I must point out that your messages were mathematically incorrect and occasionally contained nude images. Yeah, in retrospect, probably not our best move." Hank chuckled, but all worked out. "Humans are now friends with the galaxy." "Not just friends," I corrected. "You have become the galaxy's entertainment specialists. No one throws a party like humans." And it was true. In the span of one Earth year, humans had gone from being the species everyone avoided to being the ones everyone called when they wanted to have fun. Across the stars, beings that had once feared human unpredictability now celebrated it. This night fell over Wyoming. I looked up at the now busy sky, crowded with the comings and goings of interstellar travelers. Somewhere up there, Chancellor Zog was probably explaining to the Galactic Council why she had approved the creation of the first Human-Centaurian Cultural Exchange Program, a program that, knowing humans, would likely involve excessive amounts of what they called karaoke. "You know," I said to Hank, "in all my years studying humans, I never understood why you were so determined to make contact with other life forms. Your own planet is teeming with species you barely understand." Hank shrugged. "I guess we just wanted to know we weren't alone. But you have each other." "Yeah, but we already know how weird we are. We needed to know if there was different weird out there." He gestured to the sky. "Turns out the whole galaxy is weird, just in different ways." I couldn't argue with that. The universe, in all its infinite diversity, had produced billions of bizarre life forms. But only on Earth had evolution created a species that would respond to meeting aliens by immediately inviting them to a party. And perhaps that, more than anything else, was why humans had finally found their place in the galactic community. In a universe full of wonders and terrors, they were the ones who remembered to have fun.m, why research continues to this day. Humans remain as puzzling as ever, but I have come to one definitive conclusion. They make excellent friends, terrible math students, and surprisingly good DJs, and sometimes that's all you need to bring a galaxy together. Commander Zox stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Harvester, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he surveyed the newest batch of bipedal specimens. These creatures called themselves humans, though Zox preferred the scientific classification, pteroprimates of Sector 3319. "Magnificent, aren't they?" Zox turned to his second-in-command, Officer Blarp, who was busy inputting data into the ship's central database. "So docile, so compliant. The perfect workforce for our mining operations on Zorbulan Prime." Blarp's antenna twitched nervously. "Sir, with all due respect, our intelligence suggests these pteroprimates might be more complicated than our previous acquisitions." "Nonsense." Zox waved all 3 of his upper appendages dismissively. "Look at them, Blarp. Soft exterior. No natural armor. Pitiful muscle density compared to the Krylox of Nebula 7. These humans will adapt perfectly to our standard subjugation protocols." Below them, 50 humans stood in neat rows inside the massive holding chamber. Most wore expressions that Zox interpreted as acceptance. The universal translators had been distributed, ensuring the commander's grand welcome speech would be understood by all. "Attention, new assets of the Zorbulonian Empire." Zox's voice boomed through the chamber. "You have been selected for the tremendous honor of serving our glorious mining operations. Your primitive planet has nothing to offer compared to the wonders you will experience under our benevolent supervision. Jack Walker, former Navy SEAL and current mixed martial arts champion, looked sideways at the woman standing next to him. Natasha Volkov, ex-Russian Special Forces, raised an eyebrow slightly. Did this four-eyed squid just call us assets? Jack whispered. Duh, Natasha replied, her voice barely audible. And he thinks we are honored. How thoughtful. On Jack's other side stood Darnell Jackson, retired Army Ranger and Olympic weightlifting gold medalist, who was sizing up the stick-thin guards patrolling the perimeter. Those buggers don't look so tough, he muttered. My grandma could take 3 of them with her walker. Silence when Commander speaks. A guard jabbed an electric prod toward the humans, though it remained several feet away. Respect protocol. Commander Zox continued his speech. You will find that cooperation brings rewards. Resistance brings educational opportunities. He chuckled at his own euphemism. Now, you will proceed to Processing Station Alpha for physical evaluation and task assignment. As the humans were herded toward a large doorway, Zox turned back to Blarp. See? They move exactly as directed. These Terra primates will be our most successful acquisition yet. Commander, Blarp hesitated, antenna quivering anxiously. Our scouting reports indicated significant variations in human capabilities. The specimens we collected were gathered from what the locals call a global combat tournament. This may not represent their typical details, Blarp. Insignificant details. Zox interrupted. All lesser species have their games and competitions. It means nothing. These humans are no different from the obedient flurbits of Dimension 6. The flurbits were plants, sir. Exactly. And did they not serve us well until that unfortunate incident with the fungal uprising? These humans will be even better. No photosynthesis requirements. Meanwhile, in Processing Station Alpha, the 50 humans stood in lines as alien technicians scanned them with various devices. Each human received a metallic collar that fastened seamlessly around their necks. Compliance devices, explained a bored-looking technician with 7 fingers on each hand. Very comfortable, very stylish, very capable of delivering significant neural disruption if you misbehave. Carlos Martinez, world champion boxer from Mexico City, touched the collar gingerly. And if we behave, he asked. The technician's mouth parts fluttered in what might have been amusement. Then you experience only minor neural disruption. Most efficient system in 17 galaxies. At the front of one line, Aiko Tanaka, Japanese jiu-jitsu master and special forces trainer, was being scanned by a particularly thorough technician. Interesting, the alien muttered. Subject displays unusual musculature and nerve response patterns. His problem? Asked another technician. No. Simply unusual for the species baseline. Perhaps a genetic anomaly. The technician made a note in his device. Subject displays heightened neural pathways consistent with advanced coordination and reflex development. You saying this one defective? Not defective. Different. The technician shrugged his upper shoulder clusters. Many species have outliers. It matters not for mining operations. 2 days later, Commander Zox was reviewing the initial performance reports with growing confusion. According to the data, the human specimens were demonstrating unexpected capabilities. How is this possible, Blarp? These Terra primates are exceeding efficiency projections by 340%. Their endurance ratings are off our standard charts. Blarp's antenna stood rigid with concern. Sir, I have been attempting to explain. Our scouting team... Never mind that. Zox waved impatiently. This is excellent news. If they perform this well in their untrained state, imagine their productivity once fully conditioned. Increase work quotas immediately. Sir, there's something else. Blarp's voice dropped lower. 3 security incidents have been reported in the last cycle. What kind of incidents? Guard stations found unmanned. Equipment missing from storage units. And most concerning, 6 compliance collars discovered deactivated. Zox blinked his 4 eyes in sequence, a sign of irritation. Impossible. Those collars use Zorbulonian quantum lock technology. No primitive species could possibly. An alarm blared suddenly, cutting off the commander's protest. Red lights flashed throughout the command center. Security breach in Sector 7. announced the ship's automated system. Unauthorized access to weapons cache detected. Commander Zox turned all four eyes toward Blarp. Explain. I believe, sir, Blarp said carefully, that our Terra primates are demonstrating additional capabilities beyond mining efficiency. In Sector 7, Jack Walker and Natasha Volkov had just finished disabling the lock on the weapons storage facility. Behind them, Aiko Tanaka and Darnell Jackson stood guard, each holding improvised weapons fashioned from mining equipment. How much longer, comrade? Natasha asked, her collar now a useless ring of metal hanging loosely around her neck. Almost got it, Jack replied, his fingers working deftly on the alien lock mechanism. Who knew all those hours of picking locks in escape training would come in handy during an actual alien abduction? The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing racks of exotic weapons. Jackpot, Darnell grinned. Christmas came early, folks. Aiko approached the weapons cautiously. We must be selective. Take only what we understand how to use. Carlos Martinez joined them, leading another group of fighters from the tournament. The others are creating a diversion in the mining sector. We have perhaps 20 minutes before the aliens realize this is the real target. Jack nodded, examining what appeared to be a rifle-like weapon. Let's make them count. Back on the command deck, chaos was erupting. Reports were coming in from multiple sectors, each more alarming than the last. Mining equipment sabotaged in Sector 3. Guard station overrun in Sector 5. Medical bay reporting unauthorized access to stimulants and combat enhancers. Commander Zox's skin had turned a pale shade of green. How is this happening? They are just primitive Terra primates. Blarp finally lost patience. Sir, as I have been attempting to inform you, our scouting team specifically targeted a gathering of Earth's elite combat specialists. We didn't capture average humans. We abducted a collection of their planet's most dangerous fighters, military specialists, and combat athletes. Zox's four eyes widened simultaneously. You mean to tell me? Yes, Commander. We have not enslaved docile workers. We have brought aboard a ship full of what humans call badasses. An explosion rocked the vessel, causing the command center to tilt briefly. That came from the propulsion sector, a technician shouted. The ship's communication system suddenly activated, and a human voice echoed through the command center. Attention, alien abductors. Jack Walker's voice was calm, but commanding. This is your newly formed Human Liberation Committee. We now control your propulsion systems, weapons arrays, and have disabled 70% of your compliance technology. We are willing to negotiate terms for a peaceful resolution. Commander Zox stumbled backward into his command chair. This cannot be happening. No species has ever resisted Zorbulonian control. No species you have encountered had Navy SEALs, Spetsnaz operators, or Olympic combat athletes. Blarp noted dryly. Another explosion, smaller than the first, punctuated Blarp's observation. That was just to get your attention. Jack's voice continued. The next one won't be a warning. You have 10 minutes to respond before we start systematically disabling life support systems, beginning with the command center. Commander Zox's complexion shifted from green to a sickly gray. Open a channel. Open a channel immediately. 3 days later, the Galactic Harvester entered Earth orbit under very different leadership. The ship's intercom activated ship-wide as Acting Commander Jack Walker addressed the vessel's population, both human and alien. Attention all personnel. We will begin orbital docking procedures in 30 minutes. Earth governments have been notified of our arrival and the change in management. Former Commander Zox and his senior staff have been secured in the holding chambers they so thoughtfully built for us. In those chambers, Zox sat dejectedly on a bench while Blarp paced nearby. I still don't understand how this happened, Zox moaned. Our technology is centuries beyond theirs. Our compliance systems were perfect. Apparently not perfect enough for humans trained specifically to resist coercion techniques, Blarp remarked. And regarding technology, I have been monitoring their adaptation rate. They mastered our weapons systems in hours, propulsion controls in a day. The human called Aiko has already improved the efficiency of our defense grid by 23%. Zox slumped further. The Supreme Council will have my carapace for this disaster. Actually, Blarp's antenna twitched in what might have been amusement. I believe you may have accidentally made the greatest discovery in Zorbulonian history. What are you talking about? The humans are not executing us, Commander. They're talking about diplomatic relations and cultural exchange. The human leader Walker mentioned something called trade agreements rather than conquest. Zox blinked rapidly in confusion. They have defeated us completely. Why wouldn't they take revenge? Apparently, Blarp said, consulting notes he'd taken, humans have a strange concept called winning hearts and minds. They believe sustainable relationships are more valuable than subjugation. Preposterous. No species could evolve such an inefficient domination strategy. A human guard approached their cell. Carlos the boxer, now dressed in modified Zorbulonian security attire. Good news, squid faces, Carlos announced cheerfully. You are being relocated to more comfortable quarters. Acting Commander Walker thinks you might be useful as cultural liaisons. Whatever that means. See, Blarp whispered. They are incorporating us rather than eliminating us. This makes no logical sense. Zox protested. Carlos shrugged. Welcome to dealing with humans, amigo. We are full of contradictions. One minute, we are disabling your neural control systems. The next, we are inviting you to movie night. We are showing Independence Day tonight. Thought you might appreciate the irony. As they were escorted to their new quarters, they passed the ship's former training center, now converted into what the humans called a gym. Inside, Natasha Volkov was demonstrating combat techniques to a group of fascinated alien technicians. No, she was saying patiently. You must use opponents' weight against them. Like this. She flipped a willing alien participant who emitted a sound between a yelp and a giggle. Again, the alien requested upon landing in the command center. Jack Walker and Aiko Tanaka were reviewing the ship's star charts with former navigation officer Klieg, who had quickly pledged allegiance to the new leadership. These trading routes here, Klieg pointed with 3 fingers simultaneously, would be most advantageous for initial human expansion. Many peaceful species who would value exchange rather than conquest. Perfect, Jack nodded. We are looking for friends, not subjects. Earth's governments are still processing the whole. Aliens are a real bombshell, but they are very interested in peaceful contact. Aiko studied the propulsion data. With modifications, we could reduce travel time to these systems by 40%. Darnell has already improved your engine efficiency. Klieg's eye stalks extended in surprise. Remarkable. It took our engineers 3 centuries to develop those engines. Yeah, humans are good at improving things, Jack grinned, especially when those improvements help us get home for taco night. 6 months later, Commander Zox found himself in the unexpected position of addressing the United Nations as the Zorbulonian ambassador to Earth. Beside him stood Blarp, now his official cultural attaché. And so, distinguished representatives of Earth, Zox concluded his speech. What began as an unfortunate misunderstanding has blossomed into what we hope will be a lasting alliance between our peoples. The Zorbulonian High Council extends its formal apology for the abduction incident and offers the Galactic Harvester, renamed the Stellar Friendship by your Captain Walker, as the first vessel in Earth's interstellar fleet. Applause filled the chamber. Seated in the front row, Jack Walker, Natasha Volkov, Aiko Tanaka, Darnell Jackson, and Carlos Martinez, now officially designated as Earth's first interstellar diplomats. Nodded in approval to Zox, stepped away from the podium. He leaned toward Blarp. I still don't fully understand these humans. They could have destroyed us. Yet here we are, offering them technology and alliance. I have been studying their history, Blarp replied. Humans have a peculiar quality. They're simultaneously the most dangerous and most compassionate species we have encountered. They can switch from fierce warriors to benevolent teachers in moments. It makes no evolutionary sense. Perhaps that's why they are so formidable, Blarp suggested. They are unpredictable, even to themselves. Later that evening, at a reception celebrating the new interstellar alliance, Commander Zox found himself awkwardly holding a glass of champagne, which his species couldn't drink, and attempting to make conversation with world leaders. Jack Walker approached, now dressed in formal diplomatic attire rather than a modified Zorbulonian uniform he'd worn aboard the ship. Ambassador Zox, Jack nodded respectfully. You handled the address beautifully. Translation technology worked perfectly. Captain Walker, Zox acknowledged. I must confess, I remain puzzled by humanity's response to our initial approach. Jack smiled. You mean why we didn't just space you all once we took control of the ship? Precisely. Any rational species would have eliminated the threat entirely. That's where you misunderstand us, Ambassador. Humans have learned, often the hard way, that making enemies is easy. Making allies is harder, but infinitely more valuable. Jack sipped his champagne. Besides, your technology combined with our adaptability, that's a partnership that benefits everyone. Across the room, Natasha was demonstrating a simple combat move to a fascinated group of diplomats, while Carlos regaled another group with the story of how he'd rewired the compliance collars into communication devices. Your species is terrifying, Zox observed. Do you realize that in 6 months, your people have mastered technology it took us centuries to develop? And do you realize, Jack countered, that in those same 6 months, your people have helped us avoid at least a dozen interstellar diplomatic incidents that could have made enemies of neighboring systems? That's knowledge we couldn't have gained in centuries on our own. Zox's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, no longer a sign of irritation, but of contemplation. Perhaps there is logic to your approach, after all. There's an old saying on Earth, never turn an enemy into a corpse when you can turn them into a friend. Is that attributed to one of your great philosophers? Jack laughed. Actually, I just made it up. But it sounds good, doesn't it? 1 year after the abduction incident, a new joint Human-Zorbulonian Academy had been established in what was formerly the Nevada Desert. Here, humans trained in alien technology, while Zorbulonians learned human adaptability and innovation techniques. Commander Zox, now permanently stationed on Earth as the ambassador, was conducting a tour for visiting dignitaries from the Zorbulonian High Council. As you can see, he gestured to a training field where humans and aliens exercise together. The integration program has been remarkably successful. Human physicality combined with our technological expertise has created a security force unmatched in efficiency. Supreme Counselor Krell, leader of the Zorbulonian delegation, watched skeptically as Darnell Jackson bench-pressed what appeared to be an engine block, while alien trainees counted enthusiastically. Impressive, certainly, Krell acknowledged. But what prevents these humans from using their new capabilities against us? They know our weaknesses now. That's what I failed to understand initially, Supreme Counselor, Zox replied. Humans are capable of tremendous violence. Yes, but they are equally capable of tremendous loyalty once you have earned their trust. Trust. Krell repeated the word as if testing an unfamiliar concept. A volatile foundation for interstellar relations. Perhaps, but consider the alternative. Had we successfully enslaved these humans, we would have gained workers, but made an enemy of a species with remarkable adaptive capabilities. Now we have allies who fight alongside us rather than against us. As if on cue, an alarm sounded, and both humans and aliens moved in perfect coordination to defensive positions. Training exercise, Zox explained. They conduct these randomly to ensure readiness. Krell observed the fluid teamwork between species that had been enemies just 1 year prior. I must admit, this outcome, while unexpected, may indeed be superior to our original plan. The humans have a saying, Zox offered. The best mistakes are the ones that end up better than your original plan. Ancient human wisdom. No, Zox's mouth parts arranged into what he had learned was the human expression of a smile. Captain Walker taught me that last week. I believe he was justifying a navigation error that accidentally discovered a new asteroid mining opportunity. As they continued the tour, Blarp joined them, now serving as the Academy's chief cultural liaison. Ambassador, Blarp addressed Zox formally for the benefit of the visiting dignitaries. Captain Walker requests your presence in the technology division. The humans have made another breakthrough with the propulsion systems. Another one? That's the 3rd this month. Yes, sir. Apparently, Aiko Tanaka had what the humans call a crazy idea while sleeping. Something about reversing the polarity of the neutron flow. Supreme Counselor Krell's eye stalks extended in shock. But that would theoretically allow for instantaneous matter transference across. Yes, sir, Blark confirmed. The humans call it thinking outside the box. They excel at it. As they walked toward the technology division, Krell moved closer to Zox. I came here skeptical, Ambassador, but I begin to see the wisdom in this alliance. These humans are exceptional. Indeed, Zox agreed. And to think I originally classified them as simple terra primates suitable only for basic labor. What do you classify them as now? Zox considered for a moment. Partners, he said finally. Dangerous, unpredictable, sometimes illogical, but ultimately partners. In the technology lab, originally classified, they found Jack Walker, simple Natasha primates, suitable, and a team of human and alien scientists. What do you classify around a glowing prototype? Ambassador Zox, Supreme Counselor. Jack greeted them enthusiastically. You were just in time for the test run. If this works, we have just cut interstellar travel time by 60%. And if it doesn't work? Krell asked cautiously. Natasha shrugged. Then we try again. Failure is just data for the next attempt. As the test began, Zox found himself reflecting on the strange journey that had led to this moment. What had started as a simple harvesting mission had transformed both species in ways no one could have predicted. The prototype hummed to life, bathing the lab in just data for the next attempt. Jack said quietly to Zox as measurements began registering on surrounding screens. In all our Earth fiction about alien abductions, it always ended badly for someone. And in reality, Zox asked. Jack grinned as the prototype stabilized. Scientists cheered, and the impossible became possible through human-alien collaboration. In reality, Commander, sometimes the best way to solve a conflict is to realize you are asking the wrong question. You wanted slaves when you should have been looking for partners. The prototype's energy signature locked into place, stable, powerful, and unlike anything either civilization had achieved alone. Or, as we say on Earth, Jack concluded, sometimes you have to get kidnapped by aliens to find your true calling in interstellar diplomacy. Zox's 4 eyes blinked in perfect synchronization. A gesture he had recently learned indicated appreciation of human humor. Captain Walker, he replied, I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Casablanca, Jack nodded approvingly. You have been studying our films. Know your allies, Captain, as thoroughly as you once knew your enemies. Around them, the future unfolded. Not as conqueror and conquered, but as civilizations united by an accidental first contact that had begun with abduction and ended with alliance. And somewhere in deep space, other harvesting ships were receiving new orders from the Zorbulonian High Council. Approach with caution. Offer friendship first. Some species are more valuable as allies than as servants, especially humans. Commander Zox of the Galactic Hegemony watched the small blue planet through the view screen of his command vessel. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of both annoyance and anticipation among his species. The Terran system had been a thorn in the hegemony's side for precisely 47 standard cycles, and Emperor Vox Dominus had finally lost his legendary patience. Sir, we are receiving the standard rejection message from Earth's Unified Defense Council, Lieutenant Core announced. Same as the last 16 times. Zox fluttered his breathing membranes. Read it aloud for the bridge crew, Lieutenant. Everyone should appreciate the remarkable consistency